What's up, everybody? I am here at St. Lucia Beach. It's between the House of Refuge I shoot at sometimes and Stewart Beach I shoot at sometimes. And today we're gonna do some body surfing. And I'm also gonna go ahead and do a Q&A. So let's get to it. Holy crap, guys. Look at how close I am to the sand here, to the beach. And I'm standing on my tiptoes right now. That's weird, it's like a giant drop off here. Something must have happened with the tide that swept away all the sand. But I'm gonna try to body surf for you guys today. Might kind of suck because the waves are breaking like right on the shore, which usually means that I face plant into the sand. But I was gonna make this video today no matter what, so let's give it a shot. Oh man. Oh man. Yep, it broke right on shore. Well, I caught one at least. Whew. All right, well, since the waves aren't really cooperating very well to show you multiple today in the short time that I have, maybe I'll show you some footage from a previous time I did some body surfing with my buddy Rob Shannon, who taught me how to body surf. Go ahead and roll that now. Thanks for watching that. All right, let's head back up to the beach and do this Q&A. Oh, man. Whew. Get my phone out. Gosh, guys. Whew. All right. That was fun. Body surfing's always been a fun activity for me. Learned from a good buddy of mine who just got married this weekend, Rob Shannon. He taught me how to body surf. Let me know if you guys would like a how-to video on how to body surf. It's totally different than motorcycles, but it's interesting. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys being here with me at the beach today. The beautiful St. Lucia Beach, where there's like 5 people. It's the beauty of the Treasure Coast. All right, well, about a week or so ago, I posted both on Instagram at beachbiker_. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please do. You get stuff like this front page and center, which is always nice. But I posted on Instagram about a week ago, as well as the YouTube community page, calling out for you guys to submit some questions or thoughts for a Q&A session. And so since we're doing that today, I thought I'd go ahead and answer the questions from Instagram first. And I'm gonna go through and answer all of them. The last time I did this video, I only had about 6 questions come in or so, because we had quite a few less subscribers back then. But yeah, so I wanted to go ahead and go through the questions I got on Instagram, which were just a few, and then there was quite a few questions that came through with you guys commenting on the YouTube community post. But I understand that sometimes not everyone sees the YouTube community posts. They're really time sensitive, so if you don't look at your YouTube app the day that I post it, it might not show up for you. So a better way to follow things like this would be to follow me on Instagram. I highly recommend you doing that if you haven't already. But all right, let's go ahead and get this Q&A started off. Somebody who's commented a lot on my Instagram and commented a lot on videos is Robert Entenman. I think you say Robert Entenman? Robert. He says he's got a couple questions here. He asked, when did I start riding? That was in 2015 when I bought my first Harley at Orlando Harley Davidson. If you want to start with motorcycles, and if you want to start with just riding at all, I started riding scooters back in 2013 when I took my motorcycle safety course. And I actually took the course on a scooter, which is surprising they let you do that, because it made it super easy to pass the course. And his second question is, was there any certain moment that sealed the deal with wanting to ride? Actually, it was kind of funny because I was originally interested in scooters starting off because I live in South Florida. One of the big catalysts for me was when my wife and I went on our honeymoon cruise, and one of the stops was Key West, Florida, and we got off the boat and we're like touring the town and stuff, touring the island, and everybody gets around down there on scooters. I mean, it's like part of the culture, and it's not dorky or stupid at all. Like, scooters are cool down there, and I just remember thinking, like, this is fun. And we rented a couple of scooters. Actually, no, we rented one scooter, and she rode on the back and I rode around. We were just no helmet, just flip-flops, like not at all, board shorts, not wearing riding gear at all. But they were little 50cc scooters, so you couldn't really even go more than like 25-30 miles an hour. But that was the moment riding around when I was like, man, I need one of these. And then, of course, when you start with a scooter, the bug is planted, and then I realized I want to go bigger and better, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get a Harley one day. But yeah, that's how it began. Let's see here. His third question is, what was the spark that made you want to start documenting motorcycle life with video? I would say I went to college for the purpose of becoming a videographer and a cinematographer and a photographer. That's what I studied. That's what I wanted to do professionally. And I pretty much accomplished those goals. After graduating, I shot a few NHL games. I shot a bunch for various newspapers, freelance, and did a couple of editorial magazine work projects. I shot a couple of music videos in Nashville. I dabbled in a lot of media, and I actually had a job where I was working a 9-to-5 job as a multimedia production specialist for a water authority in Northern Virginia during my first year of marriage. And so I really explored all options with that. And I eventually fell into just shooting weddings as a photographer for years. And I ended up shooting I stopped counting a while ago, but it was around 300 weddings that I shot total. Probably more. And so I've always had an interest and a love for high quality imaging. I always loved graphic design. I always loved taking pictures and shooting video. And my friend and I, Rob Shannon, the guy that just got married this weekend, we made a video back in college that was it was called Peed in My Pants. It was a spin-off of the Lonely Island SNL video, Jizz in My Pants. And we made it sort of more appropriate for a Christian school, and because we were asked to make a video that was funny for the local Thursday Night Live, like sort of Saturday Night Live spinoff that they had on campus, and we shot the whole thing in 4 days, and we wrote it, shot it, recorded the music, like did everything in like 4 days, threw it all together, and showed it at school. It was a huge hit. Everybody laughed, and we thought, hey, let's post it on YouTube. And I posted it on YouTube, and within about a month it shot up to like 140,000 views, and it was seen in over 80 countries. And I remember thinking, man, this is so cool. Like the concept of like uploading a video for the world to see, and there being this huge reception of it is just, it's so cool to have that like two-way communication through the media you're making. All the other forms of media I had been doing, whether it was pictures professionally or video projects like music videos and stuff, there's no continual two-way communication with that. Like, you do the project, you get paid for it, and you deliver it, and then it's done. And maybe you get paid to do a follow-up project, but other than that, it's pretty much done. There's no community around it. And that video we posted to YouTube, it was just the sort of the seed that was planted way back in 2009. The seed that was planted for me that always made me think that would be interesting to try YouTube seriously one day. Like, if I did one video that did pretty well, like, what would it be like to do that? And over the years since then, I really enjoyed consuming content through YouTube. I started following various moto vloggers like Blockhead back when he had about 20,000 subs is when I started following him. Shade Tree Surgeon around the same time frame with his Loud Pipes Ruined Lives video. That one made me laugh, and it really showed me what you can do outside of just riding around with a GoPro on your helmet. And also then John Maxwell. Those three guys were the YouTubers that sort of really inspired me and made me think, man, they clearly have a community. There is a group of people out there that love consuming this content. And I thought, I've got all these skill sets and knowledge of how to shoot videos, and I love riding my motorcycle. And once we moved back to Florida from Texas and we've got this beautiful beach setting around, I'm like, why don't I just combine all three of those and put out content having to do with all of that together? So that's how this got born. This whole channel got born. And you know, it's been a wild ride since then. We've increased the following size by about 10 times from January 1st to now, from about 600 subs to 6,000 now, and we're continuing to grow, and I'm super psyched about it, and I thank you guys for all the support. All right, moving on to more questions. War Eagle 0775 says, have you ever considered doing a 1200 conversion? Yes, I would love to do a 1200 conversion. What I don't know is whether or not I would do a Hammer Performance kit that's like a 1250 or 1275 kit, or the Harley Davidson kit that's 1200. I would probably go with Hammer Performance for the price and for the additional displacement, but I've also heard a lot of good reviews, but I would definitely consider that someday, just not on the cards yet financially. Then Ralph Dodson 9473 asked, how or where did you learn to make videos? You may have already answered this, but thanks. Yeah, in other videos I've sort of described it, and again, in this video I sort of described it again. I learned in college a little bit, and then I just have been experimenting for years since then. You know, it's a passion of mine that, you know, really drives me to always learn, and I always strive to create better things with digital imaging, and right now this is what I'm doing, and so far I'm really enjoying it, and I plan on doing this for a while. And then Ralph Dodson again asks, why did you choose Harley? That's a good question, because at the time I was coming out of the scooter world where totally different mindset, and there aren't really, other than Genuine Scooters, that's an American scooter company, they're really the only American company I know of that makes scooters. And I was always a big classic car guy growing up, and I always loved old school 1960s and 1970s Camaros and Mustangs, and I actually owned a 1971 Camaro for a long time, and I wish I still had that car, man. That would be a lot of fun to have now, but I really enjoyed that car, and I always loved the aesthetic and the style and the power and the history and the legacy behind classic American muscle. And naturally, when I started moving towards motorcycles, at first I started looking at Triumph Bonnevilles, because I loved the heritage behind that motorcycle. I loved the classic styling that it maintained. I loved that the fuel injectors are molded to look like carburetors. I thought that was so cool. But then, you know, I started realizing, I started looking to Harleys, and because I always had the image of Harley being these like overblown huge bikes that are like grandpa bikes, and I didn't want that at all. Like, I wanted a narrow, lean and mean motorcycle that can go reasonably fast but can be leaned in through the twisties, but also was a cruiser, and you know, more paying homage to that retro styling. I didn't want a crotch rocket, so I realized the Sportster was like answering all of my prayers. Like, that was the exact bike I wanted to go with, because it had all of that. And it as I've described in previous videos, what I love about the Sportster, Harley in general, but especially the Sportster model, is it's basically like having a classic car that's built brand new right now. I always wanted to be able to own like a 1960s Camaro that was brand new and didn't have any mechanical issues and could just be ridden like it was new, but you can't do that. And the Sportster is sort of like that. It's sort of like that. So if you're considering a Sportster, definitely go test ride one, because they're awesome. All right, moving on to the next question. Redneck Harley 1200. He asked, how did you relocate your turn signals to your handlebars? They were already on there, man. I didn't relocate them anywhere. With the Iron 883, they come there. The Sportster, a lot of the Sportster models, they come like that. There are relocation kits to be able to relocate them down to your front forks, but they were already mounted there. And that concludes the questions that came in on Instagram, so I'm going to go ahead and head on over to YouTube and answer those questions. Alright, on YouTube, Isaac M asked, any plans for doing a Florida group ride, meetup, or event in the next few months? I don't personally have one, but I would love to be a part of the FLMM that was happening last November in Florida, in the Orlando area. I'm only a couple hours from there, so I would love to be a part of that at some point. Maybe they'll have one again this year, and maybe I'll be there. Who knows? That would be something that would be interesting. But I don't have any personal plans to do anything on my own yet. Who knows? Maybe one day. And then Adam Baum asked, he actually asked a question in my first Q&A, so I appreciate, you know, That's props to you for being here all along. That's cool, man. He said, yeah, he says, after your last question and answer, I bought a 2014 Iron 883, and my answers that I gave him to his questions helped him in his buying decision, which is awesome, man. That's super cool. His question this time around is, what type of upgrade are you going to do with converting your 883? He's asking about the 1200 from Harley, or doing a 1250 or 1275 kit from aftermarket brands. I think I answered that earlier, but yeah, if I did it, I think I would go with the 1275 just to have the max displacement I could get out of that bike. Yeah, so I think I answered that question before, but I appreciate it again, man. Thanks for submitting the question. Keep on doing it. Bird Dog asked, could we meet up? I live pretty close and I want to get some advice and maybe some hands-on pointers. I mean, I'm around the area, man. I don't usually meet up specifically with people unless we're doing like a collab or something, but yeah, if you happen to see me around town, I'd love to just chat for a bit. Let's see, Chris Croc 21. He's a Florida boy. What's up with the other Sportster in your garage? Yeah, I think I've talked about this some in my other videos, but that's my first bike. That's the one I bought at Orlando Harley back in 2015. It doesn't run right now. It needs a carb rebuild. It was a 2006. It's the final year that they came with carburetors, the Sportster model. And unfortunately, after living in West Texas for 2 years, in an apartment where we didn't have a garage, and that bike sat out in the parking lot and was just pelted by West Texas dust storms week after week after week, and it really caked up the air cleaner, and I ended up taking off the air cleaner and replacing the air filter, thinking that would help the bike start and hold an idle, but it turns out it probably needs to be completely rebuilt. The carburetor, once I took it off, I could see how gunked up it was with just dirt and sludge and dust and stuff just has gotten in there from all those dust storms, and the carb needs to be rebuilt, and who knows what kind of damage I may have done to the bike from trying to start it before I knew there was all that crap in there. So I mean, it needs to have some heavy diagnostics done to figure out what's going on. I haven't started it since then because I'm nervous about trying to start it, just in case there is some sort of sand and dust internally that would need to be cleaned out somehow. So that's a project I might take on at some point. I definitely don't want to get rid of that bike as of now, because it is my first bike. There's a sentimental attachment to it, but that was a lot of fun too, man, and I'd love to get that thing running again, so maybe one day we will. Let's see, Doodle on a Motorcycle. She says, how did you get started with riding motorcycles? I think I answered that already too. Started with scooters back in 2013. That planted the bug, and from there it grew into wanting full-fledged motorcycles. Keith Duffy asked, when is the ballpark time frame in mind for your Key West trip? Nice to see you hit 6K. Thanks, man. When do you expect to hit 10K? Lastly, what is your next bike mod idea? Well, I think I'm done for a little while with bike mods. I did a bunch of them recently this spring, more than I thought I was going to be able to, and my bike's pretty much where I want it to be for a little while in terms of mods. I think the next one that there would be even to do would be the 1200 kit upgrade, which that's a lot of money, and I got a lot of expenses I'm trying to save up with for expanding the video capabilities of this channel, so I'm going to try to work on those for now. And so maybe at some point in this fall or winter, maybe I'll look at it then, but for now I'm going to focus on growing my capabilities with this channel, and all of the money donated through Patreon or through YouTube ad revenue is going to go towards expanding my YouTube channel capabilities for the next 6-7 months or so, hopefully, or at least until I hit the goals I'm looking to hit. When I hope to hit 10K, I was hoping originally I'd set a goal to hit it by the end of June. I don't know if I'm going to hit that. I'm doing a collab next week that might help me get there, but I don't know yet. So we'll see, but I think 6K so far is pretty good. I think by the end of June, maybe I'll have 7,000 or 8,000 by then, depending on how this collab goes next week. But I think I'll definitely be hitting 10K by the time the Midwest Moto meetup happens at the end of the summer in September. I think that's a more realistic goal at this point. And which that's when the Key West trip is going to be. I'm going to head down to Key West with the Great Egret. Joe is the Great Egret. He and I are going to go down to Key West right after the Midwest Moto meetup sometime in late September. So hopefully there won't be any hurricanes coming, because that is dead center peak hurricane season. So Joe, hopefully there won't be any. All right, moving on to the next question. Anarchist says, what made you want to get into photography and editing? Well, I guess if you go way back into high school, I was involved in my my journalism classes. I was the editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper. We went on a field trip as a class to Nashville to explore. There's like a high school journalism like field trip convention thing, and through that trip I realized that I didn't want to be in print media. I saw a lot of people working with cameras and stuff, and I thought that was so cool. Just had the bug bit me. The same way that like the bug bites you to ride a motorcycle, it bit me for wanting to be able to have a high quality camera and to tell stories and do cool things with the camera. And I just love being able to now have an audience like this to be able to consume the stuff that I'm creating. It's crazy. It's a crazy concept. It's a lot of fun. Next up is Carlos Gonzalez. He asks, what would be your next bike? If you could get whatever bike you would want, it doesn't have to replace your Sportster. And I appreciate him saying that, because he's heard me say before that I'll never get rid of the Sportster. I love the Sportster. I'll always have it. I always hear stories about people who wanted to upgrade to a bigger bike and they got rid of their Sporty and they regretted it later and they wish they'd kept it. So I will never get rid of that Sportster. I will always keep it. But if I ever expanded my garage to add another bike, I've always had my eye on the Street Bob. I've always thought that that's a bigger motorbike that has more modern motor in it now. It's got the Milwaukee 8 in it, I believe now, and it's got similar like blackout styling to the Iron 883. It's got a similar frame to the Iron a little bit. I mean, it's not that much bigger. It's still a little bit lean. The tires aren't hugely fat on it like some of the other bikes can be, so it should still be a little bit nimble. I like a lot of the tech that's in that bike. So if I ever got a bigger bike, it would probably be a Street Bob, and it would probably be blacked out, but maybe a glossy black instead of denim black. But yeah, so that's way down the road, like nowhere near happening anytime soon, but you know, dreaming, that would probably be what it would be. Then Joshua Moore asked, what is your actual riding season in Florida? All year? Only partial year because it's hot and rainy or whatever? Just wondering. Being from Wisconsin, it's not hard to yearn for a year-long riding season. Oh man, I'm sure there's some beautiful fall foliage and beautiful rides you guys got up there in the fall that I'm jealous of, because I loved that growing up in Virginia. But yeah, riding season's pretty much year-round down here, man. I mean, May and June and a little bit of July, you get love bugs, those, you know, big swarms of these bugs that are really difficult to deal with on a motorcycle, and you get a lot of rain during this time of year. So, you know, maybe you ride a little bit less when it's super hot and there's love bugs out and it's raining every day. But I mean, still, look at it right now. It's late May, it's beautiful. You know, Florida doesn't really have rainy days like it does in other parts of the country, where you'll have like overcast weather where it's raining like all day for like 2 or 3 days. It doesn't really happen like that here unless a hurricane's here. You get a lot of those spits and sputs of rain that are more unpredictable, so you're gonna get wet at some point in your bike down here, but usually you can count on it raining around like 2 to 5 p.m. every day during this time of year. So you just don't ride during that time frame. But the rest of the year, from like October through like early April, is like paradise. It's gorgeous, and it can get kind of chilly in January and February. I mean, it'll get down into the low 40s, and if it's really cold, it might hit the upper 30s. But it's pretty, and that's only overnight. Like by the daytime, it's already back up in the 50s or 60s. But it's usually still in the 70s and sometimes even the 80s in January. So I mean, you'll just have those little cold fronts that are hitting the rest of the country, and there'll be like a little band of it that spits off down the coast of Florida, and it'll hit us for like a day or two. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's year-round riding, and it's awesome. Okay, moving on to more questions. This is actually ending up being quite a long video, so I'm gonna try to hit these real fast now. Dalton Russell 1 asked, have you ever considered doing a scrambler build? I'm personally looking into doing a Honda Shadow Spirit or a Harley Dyna Super Glide, and doing what Rat Rod's dual sport kind of build. I've never considered it. I mean, it would be cool to do. More power to you, man. I'd say go for it. If you're interested in it, yeah, get a GoPro and like film it and put it online. People will eat this stuff up. So I mean, definitely film this and put it online. People will love watching that. Raymond Rowley asks, have you ever considered a bigger bike, and if so, what would you get? Already answered that. I would love the Street Bob at some point. I never want to go really much bigger than that, but that's way down the road. Jay Alexander asks, does your wife ride? And if not, is she thinking of learning? No, she doesn't want to ride at all. She rode with me on the back of my Sportster in Orlando when I first got it, the blue one in my garage. She thought it was fun, but kind of she's just not into it. She's empowering to me. She lets me do it. She loves that I do it and that I enjoy it. She's supportive of it, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'll support you from over here. So that's partially why I only ride Sportsters, because I don't really ever ride 2-up. But yeah, she doesn't ride. I don't think she'll ever want to ride. Let's see. Neek asks, what is your first vlog? Who was your first vlogger you subscribed to? How much time does it take on average to edit a video? First vlogger in general, not counting moto vloggers, I would say was either Casey Neistat. It would be a tie between like Casey Neistat, Matty Hipoya, and Peter McKinnon. Those guys have been vlogging for a long time, especially Casey. He was like the godfather of vlogging for YouTube. He transformed the entire genre. But moto vlogger, it was Blockhead. I first saw his stuff, and then right around the same time, YouTube started suggesting J.Tree Sturgeon and John Maxwell to me, and I, have been following them ever since. Oh, how much time does it take on average to edit a video? Each of these videos, I mean, videos like this don't take as much time. It'll take me 2 or 3 hours to edit this one. But some of my more intensive videos, like the ride-through series that I do, or when there's a lot of cinematic B-roll going on and I'm exploring or doing a lot of stuff, setting my camera down by the road and riding past it a bunch of times and then picking it up and stuff, that takes a long time to shoot, and it takes a long time to edit all that footage. I'd say on average it's between 6 to 8 hours of constant editing of these videos until I get these videos out, and then you add the time to like create thumbnails and everything. So it's hard to upload 2 to 3 a week, because I mean, I'm a stay-at-home dad during the week, and I can't be editing video all the time, and I've only got 3 days a week where my daughter's in her little preschool thing, which is when I shoot these videos. So if you haven't seen a video from me in like 7 or so days, it's because I've had like something else happen that week and I just can't get it edited in time. And I just don't feel comfortable throwing crap out. Like I just can't throw it together and not edit it properly and throw it out. Because I shoot all this stuff in super flat, like low contrast, low saturation footage, which gives me the most cinematic dynamic range and all the sort of stuff that you guys don't care about. But yeah, and then I color grade it heavily in my Final Cut editing software, using LUTs and stuff. And if you know anything about that, you know it's extremely intensive, and it takes a lot of time. But that's why my videos have like my look. It's because I've color graded them and shot them to be sort of my own branding, and that's why they look the way they do. All right, so then moving on to Aaron Klein asks, what cameras do you use on the daily for vlogs and weddings? Well, I don't shoot weddings anymore, thankfully, but I'm doing this full time along with the whole stay-at-home dad gig, and this camera I'm shooting on right now is the Sony a7 III. It's an amazing camera. It's great for photos. It's full frame, if you know what that means, and you can plug an external mic into it. The sensor's stabilized. The lenses that Sony has for their cameras are phenomenal. It's mirrorless, so it's small and compact, and it's got 4K 24 frames per second cinematic for stuff like this, and then for those epic slow-mo B-rolls, it's got the full HD at 120 frames per second, and then I slow it down 5 times down to 24 frames. That's why it creates that super slow-mo look. All right, next question. Rasmussen asks, does your wonderful wife ride with you? No, she doesn't, as I described earlier. She prefers to stay off the bike. Patrick O'Keelian asks, gun to your head, Detroit Tigers or New York Yankees? I'm not really a baseball fan. I'm more of an NHL hockey guy and a little bit of football, but I'm a Washington Capitals fan like nobody's business. But I guess if you had to make me choose, I'd pick the Yankees. Kind of a cheesy answer, but. And Scott42 asks, as a Harley rider, to wave or not to wave? That is the question. And I always wave at everybody, man. Like, I don't care if you're on a scooter or a foreign bike or a domestic bike. Like, I don't care. We're all taking the same risk by being out there on 2 wheels with all the cars around us. So it takes a lot of gumption to make that decision anyways, no matter what bike you're riding. Harley Man, the train fan, asks, do you think some motovloggers get too big too quick and start to forget where they come from? I don't really think. I mean, if you think about it, motovlogging in general really hasn't been around that long. It's only been around like 5 or so years in terms of mainstream stuff. And, guys like J.Tree Sturgeon have been grinding away for 5 years, busting their butt, trying to make content every week, staying regular so nobody forgets that you're on YouTube, that whole thing. And it's tough. I mean, I think some people make the mistake of thinking some YouTubers, make it big really quick and forget who they are, because like, they'll come in, as a viewer, you'll come in and start watching their channel when they've got like 40,000 subscribers, and maybe like a week or 2 after you start watching their channel, they do a collab with another big YouTuber and they get a couple of really successful videos that you know, propel them from 40,000 to like 80,000 subscribers in a matter of a month or something crazy. And what you don't know is that it may have taken them 2 or 3 years to get from 0 to 40,000 subscribers, and they were grinding the whole time. Slow growth. So you never know. If you step back and see the macro perspective on things, you never know what work has gone into making the whole journey pan out for that YouTuber and specifically. So I've only been doing it seriously for like 5 months now, and it's hard work. It takes a lot of focus and dedication, and you get a lot of criticism along the way from all kinds of people who think they're better than you and all that. And you know, I always think it's funny when people get mad about videos that are on YouTube and they go off in the comments like I'm like a Nazi for posting about what I've talked about. It's ridiculous, and I think it's kind of funny to me. But some people take it to heart, and it's hard for them. So, you know, it's hard work pushing to try to grow a YouTube channel. So I've got respect for anybody who's done it successfully on any level. I don't think anybody really gets, at least in the motorcycle world, motovlogging world, I haven't seen anybody that's gotten too big too quick, in my opinion. Jamie Haggett says, what is your dream car? I would love to have a 1960s seafoam green and white VW microbus. I know that's like the hippie vehicle, but like those things look freaking sweet. And I mean, down here in South Florida, I could get away with riding that around. And I just love like the awesome styling and the all metal build and like the hardwood floors and couches on the inside and wicker panels on the inside of the door frames and stuff. It's just, those cars had a lot of character, and I'd love to ride one of those around. But they're like 150 grand restored, so maybe one day, but not for now. Brian Frederick asked, Bet's Pizza Shack in your neighborhood. I mean, I've always been a chain guy. I love Domino's, but if I want to go local, there's a local place, small local chain called Big Apple Pizza that's around here that's really good. They got some great garlic knots, man. So if you're ever in the area, definitely stop by and eat some of their stuff. It's really good. Patrick DK77 asked, what bike have you ridden that is your favorite? And I would say, right now, my Sportster that I currently ride. It's my favorite bike. That's why I ride it. What was your favorite place to travel? This is the second question. I say it's a tie between Key West, Florida and Clearwater Beach, Florida on the west coast, just west of Tampa. I love them both for very different reasons, but they're both extremely fun to go to. And I've got plans to actually go to Clearwater and do a ride-through video there in the coming months because I have some history there with my wife, and it's beautiful there. So stay tuned for that eventually. Vedran Erlichich says, I really like the content of your videos, specifically when riding around and reviewing gear and whatnot. Also, the interviews with Shade Tree Surgeon and John Maxwell were awesome for him. He says, what other ideas do I have in mind soon? I don't like really revealing the ideas for future videos, but I do have a list that I created in December before I really started uploading regularly. This list is enough content for 6 months of 2 to 3 videos a week, and I spend a lot of time creating that list, and I always go back to that list when I'm gonna make new videos for the new week coming up. But you know, I roll with the punches, and sometimes new video ideas pop in on the run, so I've got plenty of content coming, plenty of stuff planned, so don't worry, stay tuned. Then Sean McLean asks, Southwest Florida beaches, East Coast beaches, or Panhandle beaches, which is better and why? This is an awesome question. I personally have never been to any of the beaches in the Panhandle, but I've always heard they're beautiful. But I just personally would have an issue with the fact that the sun doesn't set or rise over the water there because the beaches actually face south. So it'd be kind of weird having the sun like rise over that horizon and go over there and not go over the water at any point. For me, I really love, obviously this is the East Coast beach, this is the Atlantic Ocean behind me. And it's just got a lot. It's got a lot more color, vibrancy. It's got bigger waves. It's got that sea salty, beachy vibe that the Gulf just doesn't have, and it's just beautiful. The beaches on the East Coast are a little more natural in the areas that I'm around, a little bit less commercialized, and I love them for those reasons, but I also love the west coast of Florida too. I love Clearwater on the west coast. I love going out there because the sun sets over the water, and it is just gorgeous when the pink and oranges and reds just light up the sky and the clouds and the water, and it's just ridiculously beautiful. So, I mean, and the beaches over there, at least where I've been over there, are a little bit more commercialized. It's more of a touristy spot. You know, I love that for those reasons too. It's where I want to go to really go on vacation and have fun, and this is where I want to go on the East Coast when I just want to chill, relax at the beach for an afternoon. So I love both for both reasons. Let's see here. 883 Rider says, this is the last question. Do a travel video for us Sportster guys. I live in PA, Pennsylvania, and he's getting ready to do a Route 66 trip in a couple of weeks, man, wow, on his 883. And he's wanting to know if I can suggest any sort of like preparation tips for a longer road trip like that. Things to pack and whatnot. I haven't done anything long like that. I mean, my biggest trip was going across the state of Texas, about 5 or 6 hours, and that wasn't even the whole state. That was just, you know, between 2 cities in the state, and that was hard. But I would recommend you going over to the Great Egrets channel. Joe, he's the one who runs that channel, and he actually did the entire Route 66 trip on his Iron 883 last year, and he got, I think he has like 40 videos from that trip. He documented everything. Like he tells you about all the stuff he prepped with, how he prepared his bike, the modifications he made to his bike to make the trip possible, the stuff he packed and brought with him, and how he managed that on the run. So I mean, go check his stuff out. I mean, the Great Egret, that's his channel. Go check his stuff out because he, in my opinion, has the best content out there for preparing for long road trips on a bike, especially a Sportster. So yeah, go check his stuff out. But all right, guys, thanks for submitting all these questions. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun answering them, knowing that there's this big community out there now that wants to participate in this setting. So I appreciate it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the scenery around me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Please hit the like button for this video. Leave a comment below on what you thought of it and what you thought of the questions and answers that were discussed today, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video, guys. As always, later.